Hi, we're back at Buzan HQ. I have Kath with me today. Kath, so I've kept all my receipts for my business, for all my outgoings, all my expenditure. Now what do I do with them?
Well, there's a couple of different levels. It depends, kind of, if you're just starting out, you might just want to have something as simple as a book with columns in it, and basically write down the basic information from each receipt. Information that you'll need to keep, take from your receipt are the date that you spent, because that obviously will dictate where it falls in your accounts and in your tax return. The name of the place where you spent the money, so the supplier, the shop, the whatever. A brief description of what the expense actually is. So, for example, I might have an invoice, a receipt today for buying printer cartridges. I would get that probably from viking.co.uk. And so I would have the date, viking.co.uk, printer consumables or printer cartridges. And then you can get books like black and red books, or there are pre-printed books that help you kind of keep track of your basic accounts. And I would say, if you like to do things manually, that or a spreadsheet where you can just have your information in columns. And basically on one side you'll have your income, and that's the same thing. That's your date, your description of what it is, your invoice number, and the amount, and the name of your client. And on the other side, on the right hand side, you would have your expenditure, with, again, the date, the name, the description, and the amount. Now, what you might want to do as you get further down the line is to kind of break that down into categories. So you might have stationery, office expenses, travel expenses. So just in these bookkeeping books, the black and red books and things like that, they give you columns where you can create your own headings. And so have a one column which is the total amount, and then also put that figure in the column to break it down by category. When you get to the end of the month, you can add up at the bottom and you'll have your category totals, and then obviously you'll cross-check your total column for where you've got it all listed against the total of your individual category columns. And that, you're kind of keeping track on what you're spending in each category. And it's a good way to kind of start to think about budgeting and how much will I need to spend on travel next month. If you've got different categories for your sales, you want to do that with your sales, but your sales are mostly going to be training. And unless you're a multi-discipline TBLI, you might have training mind mapping, training speed readings, training memory, but otherwise you're really going to have one category for your sales as a TBLI.
Okay, so most TBLIs will be using electronic versions of this. I take it there is a website, or there's an app for that, like there's an app for everything else?
There is an app for everything. At the very basic level, a spreadsheet would do absolutely fine when you're first starting out. If you want to get fancy, you could have like one tab on your Excel spreadsheet or your Google spreadsheet for income and another one for expenditure. But really, you could have it all in one big spreadsheet, because it's got columns already. If you wanted to move on from that, there's some half decent pieces of software that will work. A lot of account software is going to be really far too big for a one-person training operation with very limited expenses, and there's no need to spend a ton of money on that. Actually, there are some pretty half decent free pieces of software. When I first started, I was using, in the UK, there's one called quickfile.co.uk, which until you get to something like 2,000 transactions is completely free. So you can actually set up your whole company and all of your accounts on this software for free. There are other things, I mean, that you'll have heard of, like Sage Accounting and Quicken and QuickBooks, and they also have Quick in them. I'm not quite sure why, maybe because it's quicker than writing in a book. Who knows? And then when you get into bigger companies, you might look at something like Xero, which is Xero, or Free Agent is quite good for freelancers. And that actually might be, I haven't actually used it, but I have friends who have used Free Agent, which is quite good for like generating your invoices and helping you to keep on top of getting those invoices paid. So it kind of helps you with reminder emails and things like that. So, and when you start to look at software, then you're thinking about electronic invoicing and just sending a PDF of the invoice and have them pay online. You can set up your PayPal account and have people click pay now, and they can use their card or whatever to pay your invoice. It's quite a good way of getting paid fairly quickly.
That's really informative. Thanks very much, Kath. Thanks.
You're welcome.